Welcome to the state of Ohio. I'm Karen Kassler. The Ohio Supreme Court will decide the fate of Toledo's only abortion clinic and potentially that of all 8 of Ohio's clinics, which have been the targets of a series of laws passed in the last decade. State House correspondent Joe Ingles reports.
The Ohio Supreme Court is being asked by the state to overturn 2 lower court rulings that are allowing the Capital Care Network in Toledo to keep its doors open. At issue in this case are bills passed by state lawmakers recently that make it tough for abortion clinics to operate. This case specifically relates to one attached to the 2013 budget that focuses on transfer agreements between medical facilities and hospitals. Those agreements are backup plans for patients when something goes wrong during surgical procedures, at eye clinics, at plastic surgery centers, and at abortion providers. Lawmakers required transfer agreements with all ambulatory surgical centers, but then banned public hospitals from entering into such agreements with abortion clinics. It was controversial and set lawmakers far apart, as was evident in passionate speeches on the Senate floor.
You're destroying health care for women. And as a woman, I'm offended. I'm offended that it's so political. It is so ideological to some that you would destroy these facilities that are providing services, much needed services in our state.
I find the loss of 50 million unborn children something that we should all be concerned about, men, women alike. Life is something that is very precious. It is not something that we own. I believe it is a gift from God. And with each and every abortion, we are rejecting God's gift to humanity.
In 2014, the Ohio Department of Health ordered Toledo's Capital Care Network to close because it couldn't get a transfer agreement with a local hospital. 2 lower courts have ruled the clinic could stay open. Now, the Ohio Supreme Court will decide. The attorney for the Toledo clinic says the restrictions shouldn't have been included in a state budget and that women are being denied their rights by hospitals that are governed by the unconstitutional rules on transfer agreements.
In Toledo, none of them would step forward and enter into a contract with this provider. Because of that, they're being denied their license to provide abortions to the women in Northwest Ohio.
But Stephen Carney, the attorney for the state, says the law doesn't treat surgical clinics differently and blames this clinic for not pursuing specific measures that could help it stay open.
There is one area of law that is abortion-specific, undue burden. We have a test for that. We have a process for that. They deliberately didn't use that, and we shouldn't shoehorn that in now.
When abortion clinics are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back!
Outside the court building after the hearing, as opponents of abortion prepared to speak to the media,
Under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back!
supporters of abortion rights horned in, literally, by chanting in a bullhorn and unveiling banners in the background. NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio's Kelly Copeland says she thinks attorneys for the abortion clinic made their case.
Absolutely. It's clear that the state of Ohio has discriminated against abortion providers simply because that is the kind of health care that they provide, and certain politicians in the State House and Governor Kasich disagree. So they have perpetrated a witch hunt against abortion providers through regulatory abuse.
Copeland isn't declaring victory, though. She's concerned because all but one justice on the Ohio Supreme Court is a Republican who have support from abortion opponents.
Well, clearly, we asked one of the justices to recuse herself because she spoke at the breakfast of Toledo Right to Life, who had a major role in this regulatory scheme being enacted. So obviously, we think that there's a bias on the court. The court should rise above that and do what's right.
That justice, Sharon Kennedy, declined to step off the bench for the case, saying she reviewed the request that she recuse herself and found it, quote, without merit, unquote. Kennedy asked no questions and made no remarks during the arguments. Mike Gonadakis, president of Ohio Right to Life, says the restrictions in question are constitutional. He says it's important to remember lawmakers are doing the will of Ohio voters who elected them.
So what our legislature has done is a clear example of elections have consequences. If you elect a pro-life legislature and a pro-life governor, you're going to get pro-life laws. We're at the lowest level of abortions in our state's history. We've went from 16 abortion clinics. We're at 7 now. Hopefully we'll drop it 2 more if we can get the Supreme Court to rule in our favor.
Anti-abortion activists from around the state came together at Ohio Right to Life's Columbus office after the court hearing to lend their support for their side. They want all abortion clinics closed because they say patient safety needs to be the top priority. And they say abortion clinics are not the victims.
I'm so tired of this narrative that we're just picking on these poor abortion clinics.
Abortion rights advocates say if this clinic, the only abortion facility in Toledo, closes, women will have to go to other cities or states to have the procedure. The ruling from the Republican-dominated court could affect not only the facility in Toledo, but the remaining 7 clinics in Ohio, which all have transfer agreements as well. Ohio has half the number of abortion clinics it had in 2010 when Republicans won the governor's office and majorities in the State House and the Supreme Court. Joe Ingles, State House News Bureau.